Hello, my name is Dan, and I will be doing the presentation today on DocFlow and signature capture capabilities. Let's take a look at what we covered last week. We covered how to structure and flowchart a DocFlow. We covered the 4 questions to setting up a DocFlow. What we're going to cover today is the internal workings of the DocFlow. We're going to cover roles, parameters, steps, fields, and scripting. We're going to look at accounts payable workflow, the process moving through the steps of that DocFlow. We're going to look at HR and stepping through and seeing how it differs to other DocFlows. Then we're going to look at signature capture, where it can happen, signing using your phone or tablet, geolocation, and the benefits. This is Unform 10 server. I am logged in as an administrative user, so I'm a super user. I'm going to go to DocFlow. I have a number of packets in this particular DocFlow. Let's look at the overall DocFlows. We have a number of different DocFlows here. We can expand this a little bit more. You can see their names, what they are, how many documents are in the flows, where they are in terms of due dates. Again, we are looking at the factory. So we have one document that is due. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to come over here to Actions and select this document. And then I'd like to show you how the flows work. And we'll see side by side how this all works. We're in factory. I'm going to close this. And see, this is the overview. It says we're in factory, and this is a factory expense, when it starts. We can go to the parameters, and we see that in this case, controller approval minimum. Last week we talked about the controller having a maximum approval amount. This one has a minimum of $2,500. We could edit this if we wanted to, again, because we are logged in as a super user. We'll leave it there. The next, we have the steps. The factory approval, that's where the PO comes in. The clerk approves the invoices and packing slips and views them to the PO, make sure that everything's good. We have the controller approval. The different steps is they can either deny, reject, or complete. Next is fields. We have the PO. There's the PO there. We have the amount. Again, the amount. We have the status in radial buttons, and there's the new hold dispute, approve, deny, and as you can barely see there, new hold dispute, approve, deny. All of this is editable. All this, we can modify it by simply, if we want to, just removing a value or changing the value. So you have latitude there. Ready to go button. We have the department, in this case is factory. We have the terms, which is this is a net 30. The date the document was indexed is the date here, and then the due date, which is 30 days added to the doc date, and that gives you the due date. At any rate, we go from here, we go from to here. You can see scripting is pretty, or it's not, scripting is done using the design tool, as is all scripting in all of the applications, be it print, archive, image manager, or DocFlow. All the scripting is done using the design tool, and this is what is developed. If scripting is important to you and you want to learn more, I encourage you to attend our conference in Fort Lauderdale, Florida on the 6th through the 8th, where you'll be exposed and you'll learn how to do this, how to do scripting using the design tool. Let's take a look at roles. In roles, these show the existing roles. This is the role ID, this is the description, and on this side we have the names of the users, the named users. And Unform DocFlow requires that you have named users. You can have pooled licenses so that the people, such as two people that are scanning in packing slips or other documents, they're basically starting the DocFlow because they're just scanning in documents, invoices, and all that stuff, appending to them, but they're not actually signing off on them. So, like here, we have accounting, and we have Cole and Diaz. They can both log in a pooled license. Very restrictive when you can use pooled license. So back again, we can look at the documents. Here's the invoice. Here's 2 attachments. Anytime you see the 3 vertical lines, you can access multi-view. And we can see that we have an invoice. We can have the purchase order and the packing slip. The reviewer of this packet can choose to view these 2 at a time. We can see that the description is diamond wheel straight. It agrees with the purchase order. There were 10 invoiced. There were 10 ordered, each at $170 each. That agrees to the unit price. The total on the PO is $1,700, and the total on the invoice is $1,700. So they agreed. We can slide over and see the packing slip. There were 10 delivered. So this packet seems to be ready to go. We can see at any time what step it is. It is in the accounting clerk prep. And we can decide that we want to approve this. So we hit the approve button and forward. And we can see it goes down here. Now it jumped over the controller, and it wasn't denied or rejected, but it jumped over the controller because in this case, as I showed earlier, the controller has a minimum review. So it has to hit a threshold of $2,500 for it to be something that the controller has to review. In this case, it's $1,700, so it would jump to complete. So we can check for ready to go, and this document can be finished. And it disappears from the workflow. Now it's in archive, and we'll talk about that. And if we go to archive, and then to search, and search for that document that we just completed the DocFlow on, highlighting all the documents in the pack, we can go to multi-view. We can see by twos that we have the purchase order, the packing slip, we have the workflow data, we have the metadata from the scan, to include the line item detail extraction, which once approved through workflow, gets passed to the ERP. And lastly, we have the invoice itself. So here is the archived, complete DocFlow packet. The next place I'd like to look at is I'd like to look at HR. In this case, we're at HR hiring. In HR hiring, we have the application. We have no attachments at the moment. We have actions. We have no notes, and we have nothing in the log. In the action, if we go back up and bring up the flow again, a little smaller. In the overview, we see it's in HR. The parameters, there are no values, no dollar values, because this is a hiring. The steps are basically 3 steps. Steve is the person reviewing the applications. And Tim is the head of the department who's hiring. And Dan Jones is the supervisor of HR. Dan Jones is the one who actually hires. In the fields, we have it's radio buttons, approve, reject, and hire, which we have approve, reject, and hire, and date. Then we have the scripting. All of our scripting is done with the design tool. The roles here you can see that they are named. and what permissions they have. So it is now in the first position with Steve, and there are no attachments, but he can actually go in and find other attachments. Let's say he's received the drug test, and now we have the drug test attached. So when we click on the three bars, which allows us to go to multi-view, we can now see there is the application and the drug test. In this case, is negative. He's reviewed this. He says, okay, this person has the qualifications. Let's move him to the next step. Let's say for some reason he says, I want to hire him. And he pushes the hire button and goes forward. He's warned that he can only approve or reject. He can't hire. There's only one person that can hire. So he decides he's going to approve. He forwards it. It now moves to the second step, which is Tim, the head of the department who's looking for the hire, looking for the person. He's reviewed, he's had his interview, he likes the guy. If he decides he wants to hire once again and forwards, he can't, again, because only one person can hire, and that's the head of HR. So he goes back and he says to approve. He decides he wants to approve. He presses forward. And at the same time, there's an email sent, and Dan Jones receives an email. He can click on it, and it takes him directly into the DocFlow where he's at. See, we were here, and now this is where it launched again here. And so he can see that everybody's approved it. He's reviewed it. He says notes. Yes, Tim said that, yes, it looks great. So he decides he's going to hire him. He clicks the hire button. He selects the hire button, and he can finish it, and it's removed from DocFlow. The last DocFlow I'd like to look at, we're going to close this. The last DocFlow I'd like to look at is signature capture. Your driver's on site, ready to deliver something. There's the document. He wants to get a signature. He can bring it up like so. And he can use a phone or tablet to do this. He can log in, submit, then have the person sign off. And it gets saved. Now we can look at it and see it's here. If in the future someone decides they need to see exactly where the load was left, by clicking the delete button, you can come up here and you can actually see that it has Dan was the one that logged in. There's the time and date. You can see a map to see exactly where the delivery was made. It was made, on site, and there's the location. It's geolocation. There's the grid coordinates. So you know exactly where that document, or where that load was dropped off. Save, and if ready, if there's any attachments and ready, he presses to finish, and that document's gone. As we're wrapping up, I would like to remind you that our early bird registration discount expires October 14th. So that's next week. Please go to our website. Our conference is November 6th through the 8th at Fort Lauderdale. We will be staying at the Jimmy Buffett, the Margaritaville Hollywood Beach Resort. So make sure you bring your flip-flops and don't step on any pop-tops. Please take a moment and review our schedule and agenda. You'll notice that it is a lot of training. The conference is dedicated to teaching you more about Unform. Just a reminder, our next webinar will be October 16th. We will cover Unformed Solution 2019 Overview of Training Conference. Please plan to attend. Thank you very much for attending this webinar. Please take care and have a nice day.